Generational wealth is financial assets passed down from one family's generation to the next generation. These assets would include things like family business, property, cash, stocks, bonds, and other investments. Proverbs chapter 13, verse 22 says that a good person leaves wealth for his children's children. Rather, a good person leaves wealth or leaves inheritance for his grandchildren. That does not necessarily mean that if you have nothing to leave for your grandchildren, you are a bad person. In this video, we are going to discuss about how to create generational wealth and break the poverty circle in your family. Before we continue, please press the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed as yet. For those who have subscribed, thank you so much for your support. Now, we have already described generational wealth, so we are going to go straight into the points on how to accumulate and grow generational wealth. First pointer is you need to teach your children about finances. You need to teach your children about finances. Why is that? So that once you have created this wealth, your children can be able to manage them well and pass them on to the next generation. We are working towards creating wealth that your future generation will use. So you need to start teaching your children about money matters, about budgeting, about emergency funds, about sinking funds, about passive income, compound interest. Teach them these things at a tender age so that as they grow, when they inherit or when you pass down or when you give them some of this property to manage, it is not mismanaged because the financial discipline was instilled in them from a very tender age. Secondly, you need to develop multiple streams of income because one stream of income, one source of revenue is as good as none. It's closer to no revenue, to no cash flow. So you need to create multiple streams of revenue, whether this is from rental income, from bonds, from multiple business streams. Create multiple streams of revenue. Now, the third point, that brings us on to the third point. You need to work on having both passive income and active income. Active income is income that you actively participate in the generation. Whether you are employed, you have an 8 to 5 job, whether it's a business that you are running, you are actively involved in the actual generation of that money or of that income. Passive income is income that you are not actively involved in the generation of. So you need to have both streams. You need to have the active income and the passive income. All right. Next, you need to allocate at least 15% of your income towards retirement. And in this retirement pool, it needs to be a high interest or high earning account. Whether you are saving in bonds or you have just a pension fund or whichever place you're saving your retirement income in, it needs to have the wealth growth, wealth accumulation and wealth growth, wealth multiplier. It needs to be making you more money. It needs to be compounding itself. All right? Now that brings us on to the next point. Compound your wealth. Take full advantage of the compounding effect, the power of compounding. Make sure that whatever money you already have, whatever asset you already have is bringing you more money. If you have property, let that property be bringing you more money. If it is land, make some use of that land. Lease it out you can lease it out for agriculture. Do whatever it is you can do, but get money, make your assets earn you more money. If you're investing in stocks, make sure you're earning capital gains and you're earning dividends. If it is bonds, go for the high yield bonds and compound whatever returns you're earning on your investments. Remember, we are working towards accumulating wealth for our children and our children's children. You also need to work towards buying a property. If you're buying it through a mortgage, work towards paying it early. Pay your house early. And not only the house that you have, that you're living in, but buy even several other houses for rental income. People will always be living in houses. So the demand for houses will never ever be diminished. You also need to start long-term investments. Some of these long-term investments include things like buying long-term bonds. Remember, bonds have fixed income. Things like buying shares. Look at the intrinsic value of the stocks that you're buying. You also need to create a firm financial foundation. What do I mean by that? Simple. A good financial foundation is where you have mastered the art of budgeting. You have your emergency funds in place. You have a percentage that you save every month. You have your sinking funds in place. You have these financial tools in place and they're working for you. And then you need to take advantage of the compounding effect. And this compounding effect is not only on money or not only on your assets, but even in your knowledge. Make sure that you earn more knowledge. Work towards acquiring knowledge. Gain more knowledge, because it's this knowledge that you acquire which will help you to acquire more wealth, and not just acquire more wealth, but also to compound the wealth that you have, and not just to compound the wealth that you have, but protect it. So work towards gaining knowledge. Invest in education. Invest in acquiring financial literacy. Another thing you need to do if you want to create or gain generational wealth is to constantly evaluate and examine your financial behavior. What has been your trend like? Is it working for you? Are there things you need to change? Always evaluate constantly. Have on a routine basis. Have a schedule for evaluating the milestones that you have made. Routinely evaluate the milestones that you have made. Are you moving towards your goal? Is it working for you? Are there any changes that you need to make in your goals, in your investment strategies? Always evaluate your financial strategies. All right? Another thing that you need to look at, or that you need to be working towards, is to diversify your investments. Diversify your investments. This does not just mean having multiple streams of income, like I have said. Diversifying will include things like buying bonds in your country, buying bonds offshore, buying shares in different markets. You can buy shares locally if you're Kenyan. You can buy shares in US. Diversify your portfolio within the same asset class and in different asset classes. The next thing that you need to be looking out for, or that you need to work on, or another strategy that you need to use to gain or acquire generational wealth, is marry right. Yes, having the right life partner can help you in acquiring generational wealth. Can you imagine when you have to go through a divorce and slice half of your property and give it to your estranged partner? Marry the next person. When you divorce, slice half of your property or a portion of your property, of your investments, and give it to your estranged partner. So you need to work towards marrying right. A good life partner will give you a good backup, will jumpstart you, or give you a good backup. You need to be a team. Marry right. Another strategy that you can employ to earn generational wealth or to acquire generational wealth is to buy, borrow, die. What does that mean? Buy your assets. When you are in need of money, borrow rather than disposing your assets. For instance, if you have treasury bonds and you need to use money, borrow against those assets and pay off your loan, so that at the end of the day, you have not liquidated your assets. Remember, naturally, by default, we human beings, it's our nature that we don't have the discipline to save. So once you have accumulated wealth and you have a need for money, whether it's medical or whatever, you have a need for money. The moment you dispose of one asset, chances that you will accumulate wealth within a short duration of time to replace that asset that you have disposed is very minimal. So the best thing to do is borrow against that asset and works towards paying off this debt that you have borrowed, so that once that debt is paid, your assets remain intact. Buy, borrow, die. You'll end up, at the end of the day, you'll die having had your assets intact, and you'll have lived your life to the maximum. You'll not have lived like a miser yet you have assets. No. You'll have lived your life to the maximum and left your assets, the residual assets, to your generation, to your children, and their children to inherit. Another thing that you need to do in order to have generational wealth and to break the poverty circle in your family is to protect your wealth. Part of the tools that you can use to protect your wealth is through the policies, life policies, emergency funds, sinking funds, budgeting, and all those things we have been discussing about in this channel. You need to employ them wholesomely. And last but not least, write a will, so that even upon your exit, you don't have the state deciding for your family who is taking what or who is using what how. No. Write a will. You can also do a trustee for your children or for your grandchildren. All right? So these are some of the things that you can employ to create generational wealth and to accumulate wealth enough for your children's children. Like I said before, the Bible says in Proverbs chapter 13 verse 22 that a good person leaves wealth for his children. Do let me know in the comment section the strategies that you're employing in order to accumulate wealth and to break the poverty circle in your family. I'm not saying your family is poor, but to break the poverty circle or to elevate your family, to change your family history. See you on the next video.